Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inspirational Journeys Through Life with Straight Talk with Nolan. I have a journey, you have a journey, but how many of us actually share our journeys out there to inspire other people? And we do know that so many other people can resonate with our stories as well, and it can actually help them on their journey through life. My name is Nolan Pillay, and I am your host for today. And it's my honor and privilege to have as a guest today Federica Bressan. Now, just a little on Federica. She's a science communicator and author based in Italy. She also holds a PhD in computer science and two MDs in music and musicology. She hosts and produces the podcast Technoculture, and especially it's so fitting in today's generation, and conducts YouTube interviews on science, technology, and culture as well. She has recently published her first work of fiction, In the Heart of Too-sha. Now, Tuscia is actually spelled Tuscia, but it's pronounced as Toosha. So welcome, Federica. It's such an honor to have you on the show today. So can you tell our listeners just a brief intro where you are now at the moment and who you are?
Apart from Hello, everybody. Thank you for the introduction. It's mostly all there. I will just add that I'm in Argentina right now. I'm speaking to you from the beautiful city of Buenos Aires. So I'm normally based in Italy, in the Rome region. But right now I'm in Buenos Aires. I'm here for the month. I'm actually here in part to promote the book that you mentioned. And thank you for pronouncing Tuscia so well. I understand it's not a very international name. The novel, of course, is available in 3 languages, including English. This is a little bit how the cover looks like. And it's not today's main focus, but I'm just very happy that I can, travel the world and open doors thanks to this book. So at least I'll give it a mention, and then we go and talk about the real stuff of life.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you are actually doing your tour to promote the book as well, because a lot of people can benefit from books like this as well. So well done on that, and enjoy the balance of your time in Argentina. So let's dive straight into it. So I want to go back, because this is so recent, right? I want to go back to the year 2017, where you mentioned that you started your rebuilding from scratch and learning how to live. And I'm taking it's learning how to live again. And also I want to talk about that, and also being misguided in life. Can you maybe just elaborate a little on that for us?
Yeah. Not a very easy topic. So I'll try to make sense. I'll try to deliver something that I hope makes sense. I believe that living is an art. This is what I've learned. This is not what I'm preaching. It's very much just what I have learned in my journey. I believe living is an art. And what does that mean? It means that there are better and worse way to go through it. And it's all a matter of what you value, what your priorities are, and what tools you have to execute, to act out your values and the things you want to do, which will be your priorities. And about being misguided, I believe that certain things in life, for example, your upbringing, your family culture, can confuse you. Yeah. I like the word confused, because that's what it boils down to, I believe, that you basically construe the environment around yourself, have a vision of the world, and therefore move through it, move in life, act yourself out, as an agent based on inadequate information, and that's why actually psychotherapy based on logos, on the word, is supposed to heal, is supposed to work, because only by talking you will expose and reveal your beliefs, what you believe. Very banal example, when someone says, I actually don't believe I deserve this or that, to be loved or a good husband, deep beliefs that you may not be aware you have, first of all. And those deep beliefs, I've heard them called in different ways. An effective way is that it's your personal truth. It's the story you tell yourself about yourself. And that determines how you live your life, what the things you get in life, because another truth is basically you get what you think you deserve, you get. But these are deep beliefs. It's not obvious to see these things in everyday life because you think that things happen to you. It's just serendipity. It's not your fault. It's just how things go. But at the end of the day, this is a super harsh sentence, but I live by it. And that is me, myself. First, everybody has the life that they deserve. Yeah. And God, I don't mean being born in a country or another or being poor or another. I mean the emotional quality, the relationships you have, your human life. First of all, that's what I mean. That everybody has the life that they deserve, and also everybody pays the cost of their lives, of who they are. If you unpack this inside, you will also find the fact that if you do harm, it will come back and bite you in the back in the future. Which is not to say I believe in a universal justice and all of that, but I already delivered a bunch of truths right now, things I do live by. I actually do have a list of quotes or principles that help me go through life. That's, if you put them all together, that is my philosophy of life. This is the principles by which I make my decisions that help me face difficult times. So having said all of this, and because I don't want to talk about myself too much, I want to try and be useful, or at least to say something that can be food for thought, or that someone can come back to me and criticize, instead of just telling my story, because it would take too long. Bottom line, in 2017, I was about 36 years old, and my life was, of course, I say going very badly, but from the outside, you wouldn't necessarily say that. I just say, I know it was so bad in terms of health and relationships and just how you feel. I mean, you feel desperate and just struggling all the time. Every day is a struggle and you're full of worries and things don't seem to go well for you. And at that point, I had to sit down with myself and face the fact that I had something to do with that. I couldn't just be a victim 100% to say, these things happened to me. I had a clear, what do you say, a sensation. I was an intuition. I knew that I had to do something with the quality of my life. Wow. And yet, I was doing everything I could. I thought I was doing well. I thought I was managing things the best I could. I wasn't trying to do harm to no one. I wasn't elbowing my way to have a career. I was really, really just trying to have a small, decent life. And yet everything was crumbling down all the time. And I thought, wow, why? And I took the time to sit down and look inside of myself and ask some hard questions, being trained, having some brains, but especially being trained as a scientist helped me sit down and try to take an objective look at it and dissect the problem in a logical way, not an emotional way. It's about emotions, but the way you conduct your analysis is very lucid and clear, like a surgeon, and say, okay, why does this happen? Why? And I ask 1,000 whys in a row. Why? And I try to give myself very honest answers. And to give you an example, one of the things that was going badly at that time in my life, and a major one, was a relationship with someone. Very miserable, definitely abusive. And I ask myself, why do I keep going back? And I knew, we're not always attracted to people that are good for us.
Yeah.
And you just call that being in love. And you say, you don't choose who you fall in love with, and all that BS. And it was very hard to admit to myself that I had feelings for this person. And this person, that's why he triggered these thoughts in me, because he had done such things that are so hurtful. It's not normal, like you bicker. No, this person had hurt me so much and disrespected me so much that the fact that I had those feelings for him did really not make any sense. Yeah. I knew it was wrong. And so I had to look inside of myself and face the fact that something inside of me was in love with him. And even if we accept that you don't choose to be in love and you cannot control it, you can have an inner dialogue. You can talk to yourself and maybe ask yourself, what do you like about this person? How do you feel when you're together and it's good? And, when it's good, it's good. And when it's bad. But when it's good, it's so good that it's better than high cost. So what is it that you gain from this that is worth you being disrespected that much? And those were not easy questions and not easy answers to hear. It almost gave me PTSD to realize how involved I was in making my life so miserable. We're very much not victims in life, except when we're children and we don't have power to choose what happens to us. And when we are adults and we are involved in some earthquake, natural disaster, terrorist attack. For everything else that happens to us, or co-creators in the least, there's something we can do about it always. Not that we have complete control on everything, we don't, but we have a role in what happens to us. And so through those questions that made me face myself, I'm not saying, the worst things inside of me. I didn't find out, I want to commit murder. It's not that. It's, actually the realization that you as a woman have an active part in keep being involved in an abusive relationship is shocking. Is shocking. And there, okay, rebirth, rebuilding myself, all alone without the help of therapists, but with the support, I like to say, of good books, not self-help books, just good literature, movies, documentaries, podcasts, art exhibitions. So everything that I was drawn to, I followed those intuitions. Trust yourself. If something catches your attention, there's something there for you. Look into it. And so I was avid on listening to certain speakers at that time online, and I would binge listen. And they would talk a lot about art, literature, and psychology. And it was a very enriching moment, but I felt that I had to stop living like I had lived up until that point and change. And the change was what? Not what I have for breakfast or move and change house. The change was who I am, the choices I make, and to be more specific, even, it's my morals. Yeah. By morals, I don't mean like we normally mean every day, like being promiscuous or anything. My morals were indeed, if I want to lead a good life, call myself myself a good person, do good to myself, to others, be kind, be fair, be loyal, because I believe that's who I am, then I must stop choosing to be with someone who disrespects me so much, because that means that I accept and approve of violence. And therefore, it belongs to my world. It's in my world of possibilities. Whereas from that day on, that type of violence, and now I'm using it in a broad way, verbal, physical, in different degrees, I find violence unacceptable. And I like this word. It's key. It's unacceptable. We don't debate why you hit me, because unacceptable, period. So it's a no. It's a no. And you look around and try to see what successful people do. Successful people, happy people, people in a good marriage, how do they interact? You'll never know what happens behind closed doors in a couple. So beware of that. Don't think you know everything, but pay attention to the small acts of kindness and try to see if you perceive them as genuine. It's not a facade, and say, okay, so that's nice. And you try to cultivate kindness. You don't expect that it happens to you. You cultivate it and you try to be kind with others in the small things, to hang out in good places where there are good vibes. And that, well, may mean to pick to sit next to this colleague and not that colleague at lunch, because you know that that colleague talks behind people's backs. You prefer to be with this person who's more straightforward and you just talk about the weather, but it's just, I don't know if this is making much sense, but morals were a key word. I was listening lectures on Jung a lot at that time, and Jung once said, having clients as a therapist, he once said, I never found a person that would come to me with a psychological problem. Everybody has a moral problem.
Yeah.
Because at the bottom of the quality of your life, of the choices you make, micro choices every day, choices you cannot consciously make. It's everything. It's who you are. It's automatic. It's 1,000 micro choices. If how you smile at the person at the grocery store when it's who you are, that I call morals, because you can unpack those things to a deep, deep point where you will find a piece of information, a statement, a belief, a truth, for example. Yeah. I'll stop here.
Now, so many golden nuggets in that, Federica. One of the things I do like about it, and to the listeners out there as well, is Federica made a decision that she did not want to stay in an abusive relationship. And if you look at the shirt I'm using deliberately today, it says #no excuses. And it's exactly that. It's no excuse for that. But you, as a person in that relationship, you have the choice. Like Federica mentions, her morals, her values, her beliefs, what she believes in. She did not believe that this was the right way to continue a relationship, and that's why she stopped it. So you have a choice as well. So when you wake up in the next day and you realize you're in this type of a relationship, for example, always remember you have a choice to move out. If you stay stuck in that relationship, it's not saying something about the other person. It's actually sending you a message that, hey, maybe I need to fix something within myself. So make the choice to fix yourself, and everything has to start with you. When you start fixing yourself, working on your inner shadows, whatever is troubling you inner, watch how your life will unfold. And I'm sure you've been on that journey as well, because Federica, 2017 is not too long ago, right? We all come from this conditioned background where, life was just happened for us. But now that we've grown, we've learned so much, we've matured, we don't have to just settle for less. We just don't have to settle for anything that comes our way. We have to settle for something that means a lot to us as well, right? So really good nuggets in that answer. Thank you for that. I also mentioned, like what you said, that living is an art, and also ask yourself the hard questions. So to the listeners out there, whenever you
Mm-hmm.
are going through anything, ask yourself those questions. There's absolutely nothing wrong in sitting in your room or wherever, or in a park or somewhere, having this conversation in your mind and asking yourself, but Nolan, wow, what can I do today to improve myself? What's hurting me inside? Why did I behave in this way yesterday? Start asking yourself those questions and dig into the root cause of what causes you to behave in certain ways. And the clues, the answers are there. The answers are within you. You just have to ask those questions and watch how it unfolds as well. I know, Federica, you've been through a lot of trauma from what I've read as well, right? One of the things that touched me was your attempted suicide. I've been down that road. I did it when I was 18 years old. But for me back then, it was because I failed my metric year and I was too embarrassed what the community would think about me and what society will call me a failure and stuff. When you're that young, right, and immature, you really don't know better. But now when I look back at that situation, I can laugh about it and say, but hell, Nolan, you were silly to even do that. But nobody would have understood what situation you were in at that time when you went through this. Because we did not have mentors and guides, the amount of resources that are out there today to educate ourselves. We had to fend for ourselves. It was about survival. So, do you want to speak? I'm sure the listeners can gain a lot of knowledge from how you got through these obstacles. You don't have to go in detail. Just give us a few golden nuggets on just how you worked through them.
Do you want me to talk specifically about the suicide attempt?
Yeah, maybe let's, or you want to talk about the eating disorder?
Because you mentioned, and I actually never talked about it publicly. I'll just give the context. I was also very young. I was 15.
Wow.
It's scary when you do it. And so I don't laugh about it, even now that I'm 41. It gives me terror to think back of the courage that I had to try and do that. There are, though, I would say, well, different kinds of suicide attempts, at least two. The ones where you really mean it, and normally people who try once will try again until they succeed.
Yeah.
And the statements, you're serious and things can go wrong. Yeah. But bottom line, it's cry for help. Exactly. And definitely, nobody rushed me to the hospital then. It was just something extremely silly and dangerous that I had done, and very lucid. So it's still what that moment tells me about myself is how bloody courageous I was and desperate to be able to do that. But I was very much present. I hadn't lost my mind or anything. It's just that I was completely misguided, in life at that point and for many years later. So I'll leave it at this. But since nowadays, many times, sometimes people abuse of words like rape, or like even abuse is so broad, can mean many things. Harassment, so broad, can mean anything. So I want to clarify, because I would never want to appear more than the thing to appear more than it was. It was serious, but the mindset was rather that of a strong mind that is desperate and plays with death and almost wants to see how far it can go and is ready to take that step over the bridge rail. But it's not the mindset of someone, and I believe that probably it could boil down to these two types: of the person that has decided they're going to die, and normally those people make it when they try to commit suicide. And if they don't, and if they fail the first time, they will keep trying until they make it. That was not my case. Having said that, I believe that in part, going back to what I said before, which is not repeating, but I like, as it shows coherence with what I said, because it does all boil down to that, is your upbringing and the information that you're given growing up, the story, your personal truth, the story that you tell about yourself, your family culture. So it's weird to give broad statements about my life and how I went through difficult times, because with the same facts, you can tell two very different stories, and even more than two, maybe. There's the successful story and then the personal story. And up to very recently, I think that I hadn't told the true bad story, even to myself. It was just too much to take. You do things when you're ready to do them. So just recently, I had a complete meltdown one evening. So I still have those major episodes emotionally, but I always try to learn and grow. Before that, and I'm 41 and I'm not 25, I can tell you that I have always had either struggles or urgent existential questions, which, damn, are so close, are almost the same thing. You know, who has life figured out? Well, nobody. Fine, fair enough. You've never arrived and you say, well, you know, now I know everything, or now I don't need to change anymore. And sometimes people tell you that when you say, I feel that my life is always a struggle to go forward. Someone will tell you, well, that's life. They say, you know, no, I'm in too much pain every day. You never have life figured out, but it can be a bit more pleasant. Life can be good. You know, you can feel more pleasure than I do. So even at a point where I started being successful in my career privately, I always had those struggles. So that's when the story really splits, because as long as you're young, you don't have a career yet, you're you. Yeah. You have your public persona and who you're at home, maybe, but you're you. When you start having a career with an online presence and you go to this conference, that conference, well, people see this upward trajectory and then say, well, you're bound to the stars, girl. You know, you're good. You're being successful. And your personal story really diverges and goes the other way, and you really struggle. And that's what it's been for me for a long time. Wow. So how I've been through, to try and answer your question, how I've coped each time, I cannot say that there have been, you know, at that age that happened and this is how I coped. At this age, this happened, this is how I coped. I kind of feel like there's this long drag of disaster in my life. What I can tell you is a sort of omnipresent, bottom line, unique character that I have that had always just helped me not really cope with a specific thing. That would be the tools that I talked before, the real principles that I live by. Those things have helped me cope. But bottom line, I have just I refuse to give up. And that is a belief that I have. And that is a story about myself that I tell myself. And I feel that it's innate. It doesn't come from my upbringing, like they taught me to believe in myself, because they bloody didn't. I believe that there are some things that I have had with me as far as I can remember. So I don't know if it's true, if it's science, it's just a feeling. I feel that these things are innate. It's just you have it or you don't. It's your nature, who you truly, truly are. That's why even brothers and sisters can be different in the same family, because everybody's born with this unique nature. And then maybe they're nurtured in the same household, etc. But everybody is just unique. And so among these unique beliefs I have about me is that I don't end up badly. And so therefore, I refuse for disaster to be the last page of any story I'm part of. If it's bad, it means it's not the end. Yeah. It's also a quote from some movie. I forgot the title of a lovely, lovely movie. The Princess Bride. Yeah. You know, everything goes well at the end. And if it doesn't go well, it means that it's not the end.
Correct.
So therefore, even if I've had this lifelong struggle, I kept going and going because I just refused to accept that life was feeling like shit like that.
Yeah.
This cannot be life, damn it. I had to see this through. I had to overcome this. There must be the other side. There must be the silver lining. There must be the end of the rainbow. There has to be. And I've always pursued this through my passions, science, traveling, literature, music. And these things have, it's not an overstatement to say these things have saved my life. Music more than anything else. I'm done, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You know, it reminds me of something I read earlier on. And what the writer is actually saying is, if you are going through hell at the moment, do you want to stop in hell, or do you want to continue till you get to the other side, which is much more better than hell? And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of people that are going through like trauma, etc., they tend to stop. They don't push on because they believe this is the end of their life, right? But you and I know that life doesn't end there, and we have to push on. We have this attitude that says never quit. We keep moving forward. As long as you're moving forward, and even if it's at a slow pace, you will still get to wherever you want to really go as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I think that's like really powerful as well, you know, to the listeners, that one should not quit in life. You know, irrespective of our backgrounds, where we come from, life doesn't have to end where we are. I mean, we grown adults, but look at us at our age now. We're still learning every single day, and we're growing every single day. So it doesn't end yet. Federica and myself, and all of you guys out there as well, are going to encounter more obstacles as you proceed in life. The difference is, once you help yourself, educate yourself on how to overcome these obstacles, it becomes so much more easier. So that when you reach the obstacle, it's not like you're hitting a brick wall and you're stopping, you're allowing fear, anger, anxiety, depression, all of this to hit you. You can still move forward stronger than ever. So thank you for sharing that. I want to go into your book now, because we have about 15 minutes left. And, you know, it's so interesting because I want to touch on this book. And the first question I'd like to ask you is, you're writing about, is writing about science different than writing about fiction for you personally?
Oh, well, it's a world of difference, indeed. But I'm trying to make a real time choice right now. And if you allow me, I'll take 2 minutes.
Sure.
Excuse me. 2 minutes from the book.
Sure.
To add something to something I said before, because I love to talk about the book, but
yours.
I delivered some bombshells today. So I like to be more specific about something. When you repeated my words, you understood them correctly. Whenever you're in an abusive relationship, you have agency. So you can get out. That's a positive message. You can get out. Yeah. But then it's, how do I do it? That's what nobody tells you. And I want to mention that to tell someone who is in an abusive relationship that they are part of the situation, they're co-contributing to the fact that they ended up in that situation and they keep staying in it, is nowadays called victim blaming. Mm-hmm. And you cannot do it. So I want to say that victim blaming is a thing and it exists. And it's when responsibility and accountability is placed inappropriately. If you're making me feel responsible for something that was not my fault, and I'm the victim of a situation, you're blaming the victim.
Yeah.
No. It's a different thing, though, to try and hold people accountable for what they're actually accountable for as adults. But that's a very subtle thing to do, because nowadays, you know, people are easily triggered on many fronts, so you cannot even say certain things. But I believe that doesn't help us move forward, because responsibility and accountability and agency are truly the key to moving forward in life. You have power, you know. When someone tells you you were raped, for example, it's a bad example I picked. No, never mind, because I want to talk about the book. I wanted just to mention victim blaming. And the second thing is when you tell someone, oh, but you can get out, what those people say is, I know I should leave this man, for example, but I just feel that I love him. I wake up in the morning and I need to be with him, like, and I go back. This yo-yo saying, you keep going back to the man. And that's where the trick is. What you're saying is, I know rationally I shouldn't be with him, but I keep going back because I love him or because of feelings. And that, serious as love can be and deep and stronger than ourselves many times, what you're saying is, I shouldn't eat cake because I'm, I don't know, diabetic or obese already, and I should not eat cake. Oh, but it's good.
Yeah.
This is not how an adult should think, you know? So if you should not eat cake, but really feel not just that you would like cake, because most people will like cake, they just walk away and don't care, but they're adults and they say, no, I cannot eat cake. So, you know, suck it up, deal with it, find something else good in life. But if you must not eat cake and yet feel drawn to the cake all the time, and you really crave the cake to the point that you will give in and eat the cake, which is poison for you, that's where you need to ask yourself some serious question and not be a victim, and ask yourself, what is it in me that will make me give in to emotional stuff, to harm myself doing something that rationally I know I shouldn't? I had to ask myself questions right there. So going back to an abusive relationship or breaking that cycle is one of the hardest things to do. But the mechanism underlying it is the same of, I shouldn't eat cake. Oh, but it's so good. Now grow up. You cannot have it both ways. This is harming you like poison. And you're telling me, oh, but I want, oh, but I love him. Oh, but I want. Girl, you're doing this to yourself.
Absolutely.
Step back and ask yourself why, what, and if you're an adult and if you're thinking like this, if this is your mindset, are you able to properly shield children from harmful situations? Are you a good parent if you think like that? Yeah. An adult does not think, I shouldn't eat cake because it's poison for me. Oh, but it's good, and eats it. This is just what I want to say.
Well said. Very well said. Because at the end, people do have a choice as well. And I mean, before you get into the book, I want to ask you a question. How gratifying is it that you managed to get out of that abusive relationship? How do you feel, right? How did you feel at the time?
Like shit. No, like shit, meaning it took a while to overcome the shock. Like, I didn't use the word PTSD lightly. I don't often use those types of labels and jargon. Yeah. But then it really took me a long time to recover from my involvement in all the toxic situations that I had created in my life, that were coming from a time in my life where I wasn't responsible. Your childhood, and that's, it's just, when they say it's life, suck it up, what they mean is you were not responsible for what happened to you as a child, but you're 100% responsible for what happens to you now, what you do with it now that you're an adult. Like, but they gave me like a bag of dead lizards. Yeah. It sucks. Look at that other person. They gave her a box full of chocolates and flowers. That's unfair. Yeah. And that's how life isn't fair. But you have to work with what you have. And if you don't whine and complain, but always roll up your sleeves, follow your passions, your inner intuitions, and say, what good can I do? I mean, I'm alive. I must be grateful for life. One day I'll die. How do I intend to spend this time in between? Oh, because I'm in Argentina. There's a quote from an Argentinian writer, super, super, super famous quote. They said, I committed the worst sin than any human can make. Wow. I've not been happy. It's a moral duty to be happy.
Yes.
Where happy doesn't mean la la ha ha. Yeah. Happy means I am able to feel gratitude. I'm not a resentful person.
Correct.
Because if you have resentment, that's again, it's on you.
It's on you.
That's something you have not said. It's something you have, some air you haven't cleaned. It's on you if you are resentful. Speak up. Say what doesn't. So if you're a grateful person who appreciates the small pleasures in life, those are good indicators
Exactly.
of whether you're happy. Would you agree?
I totally agree with you, and I like that you mentioned that your 15-year-old self, you were too young then to understand what was actually happening, right? Because we don't know better when we're at that age. And I'm sure as you grew and you learned, you went back to your 15-year-old self in your mind, and you basically said to the 15-year-old self that, you know what, it's fine. It wasn't on you what was actually happening at the time because you didn't know better. You were still young as well. That's some of the shadow work that we do on ourselves and that we can do as well. So I'm so grateful for you, Federica, because you've from what I've looked at and what I've listened to is you've come a long way, but you've done so well. And you know, we always say people look at us on the front and think, wow, this person has a glorious life, everything is going well. They don't know all the obstacles that we have to go through in life to actually get to where we are. But here's the thing, we just don't go through those obstacles. We grow through those obstacles. And by growing through the obstacles, I mean is that we learn from those situations and we become better persons, better people as well. So hats off to you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad that I'm grateful that I've connected with you because I've learned a lot as well. And I'm sure the audience have learned a lot on how you've overcome so many situations in life as well. There's so much more I want to talk about as well. And now that you mentioned, I think you're such a fantastic storyteller. I really do. The way you say the stories, I really, really do. And that's why I believe the world needs to hear more of your story as well, because there's so many people out there that can really resonate with your story and really help them get out of whatever situations they are going through as well. So I like the way you actually speak about it. I want to talk a little about Argentina, right? Because you are there, and how's your trip so far? You've been there for 3 weeks now or a month?
Oh, yes. And I don't want to leave. Oh, man. I decided to spend a month in Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
I've traveled wide and far before. I'm an experienced traveler. So I know that it takes a few days in the beginning to get to a new routine,
Yes.
to understand where you are, where things are, where the best coffee is, how far things are. It's all new. Everything is new. I have never been to Argentina, never been to South America. So it's my first time here. And it's awesome. Every moment of the process is awesome. It's just that the first week you do many things, but you have a feeling you're not doing much because you're just understanding where things are. So you learn a lot. It's fantastic. Then you start getting into your routine, you know, where basic things are, and you start looking into what you could do. And here's the thing, you start connecting with people. You start, you know, taking contact and then meeting, going out, and then you decide to do something together, especially for the book. I met with people and then we organized an event, a presentation. What came out of that was I have it here. Look, I have received an acknowledgement from the Argentinian Society of Writers as distinguished visitor in the city of La Plata, which is just next to Buenos Aires. Look at me, I'm going home with an acknowledgement as an author, oh my God.
That feels so good.
So grateful, so grateful.
good.
And someone else gave me their poetry book yesterday with the, last night I was at a dinner with the Italian ambassador in Argentina, and I gave him a copy of my book. Then things start to roll and happen. To me, at least, because I reach out, I network. I like to bond with cool people.
Yes. Yeah.
And so basically now I have a week left here. I have so much work to do also, and I'm stressed because I'm already counting the minutes. I would wish to stay more. So there is, in the month, there's a sort of void in the beginning, like a bubble, an empty bubble where you think, I have all the time in the world. I have a month. I'll do everything, you know. And then by the half of the month, you realize how much potential there is there, how many things you could do. And now I have a week left and I'm anguished because I would want to stay. I think Buenos Aires, as they say, I think so. It's so beautiful, but it's not a shocking beauty that when you get here, you fall in love like boom. It grows into you. And by the time you leave, you realize you will always be Buenos Aires homesick.
Oh, wow. So I've got it on my bucket list now. Most definitely. Thank you for that amazing review of it as well. And so with your book, right? Let's talk a bit about your book. What message are you actually trying to give with the story in your book? What's the key message?
Look, since writing the book, I have received tons of standard questions. Why did you write the book? What is your book about? And now you're asking me what message I'm trying to. I want to give an honest answer because probably there's something more useful in my honesty than in a pretty answer. Not fake, but you know, I have to try and say something that makes sense. The truth is that I wrote this story out of an inner urgency. You know, I needed to get it out, which I believe is how every work of art or creative endeavor should be born. Like you cannot not do it. It burns. And so I wrote the story. I needed to write it. So I didn't write it because I was thinking about publication and I was thinking to spread a message. Now, there are values expressed in the novel. So when you read it, you will take something away, hopefully learn or resonate or criticize, disagree. So there are values. I am giving messages through the novel, but it's not that I sat down and I said, okay, this is the message I want to get across, like raise awareness about eating disorders. And I'm going to write a story to do that. So the truth is that I just wrote it because it's art for the art's sake, and it's life and it's love. What values make, come through is for the fact that people that you meet in life always enrich you. Some people a lot. Some people that you meet may transform. People that are unassuming in the beginning, you don't see them the first time and say, this person is going to be very important in my life. You let people in your life. Sometimes you resist letting them in. In the beginning, the woman that tells the story says, who is this man? He goes on my nerves so much. So it's not love at first sight at all. But this man ends up transforming her life, her soul. This is a quote from another book that I forgot the title of, but it says the best kind of love is the one that awakens the soul, right? The Notebook is the name of the movie, The Notebook. And this is that kind of love that awakens the soul, challenges it, and transforms it, So there's that. And there's the message that people who come into your life and that you may love very much don't necessarily end up being your husband or wife or stay in your life forever. It's fluidity in life. Mm-hmm. Be grateful for every person that comes into your life because you don't know if they'll stick there forever and become your husband or wife or not. Live every day and be grateful. And another message, if I may make it boil down to two, because I've been talking for a long time today, is that when something approaches an end or a downhill moment, because then you don't know if it goes up again, just when things don't seem to go very well, never give in to sadness. Always believe that there is, this is what I mentioned earlier, and I express it in the book. There's always something afterwards. Yeah. The sun always shines back after the storm. And this is very cheeky in a rhetoric and all of that,
Yeah.
but it's true. And in the book, I described a moment of being in a difficult position, because even if Federica believes that you always have to keep going because, you know, things will go well, etc., actually the character in the book is in a mental place where she really is stuck. And through this man, for example, she manages to, let's say figuratively, look up, raise her gaze again, and see that she was fixated on the mud in a tunnel, and that it was a little bit to her to look up and look for the sunshine or the stars. And she tells herself, damn it, I had forgotten to let life surprise me. I had forgotten the principle, keep moving, keep moving. Yeah. I was stuck on this, man. I was taking my problems too seriously. I was just ruminating all the time on this. And I forgot to put it on the side for a second and remind myself that there's a beautiful sunset, for example. Yeah. Like things like this. And the last one is also that when things don't go so well, besides not giving in to sadness and being stuck, but always keep moving, is a feeling of gratitude. You know, beautiful. Say, because as an adult, you must know when a relationship doesn't go well. And someone said wisely, it's very important in life to know when to jump on a train, not to miss trains, you know, because it's life. Every missed train is lost forever. It's also very important to know when to get off trains in life. And so if you meet someone and things are good and you learn, enjoy, thrive, man, like best of life, and then things start not working very well, well, instead of being stubborn and fighting to stay in a toxic situation at that point, you just say, look, can we get along? Let's say the answer is no. You try, you give it, the other person loses interest and pursues someone else. Yeah. What are you gonna do? Chase them and make yourself miserable for 2 years, 5 years, 6 months? No, you always act and as a mature adult and say, okay, this is not going well anymore. So the time that you spend in it not going well is as short as possible. It went well for 6 months, 3 months, 5 years. It's been an awesome relationship. When it doesn't go well anymore, just let go. Yeah. Don't be stubborn. And therefore, the main feeling that you should always be left at the end of wonderful things that come to an end is gratitude. Absolutely. Thank you. Absolutely. Gratitude is so important. I mean, I practice gratitude every single morning, every single night before I get to bed or when I wake up. And you don't have to be grateful for big things in life. Be grateful for the small things. And the more small things you're grateful for, the more things or the less things you need to be ungrateful for as well. So, Federica, thank you so much for inspiring us today. We are so thankful and grateful at Straight Talk with Nolan to have you as our guest today. It's really been an honor. What I'd like you to do is, can you maybe give the audience one last tip, and also how can they get hold of your book and how can they get in contact with you as well? If you can share that with us, please. I'm easily reachable online. I'm on all social media. I have several websites as a science communicator. My book has a website. So the best way is actually either to follow the links that I hope will be in the description of this episode, or Google Technoculture podcast. Google my name if you can spell it right, Federica Bressan. So better follow the links probably. In the heart of Tuscia is so Google will help you, or the links to find me, and do reach out. I have quite an online presence, so I will be easy to find. A last tip. Well, follow your path. I have it. I wish I showed you. I've had it for years in my wallet. And I realized the other day that I haven't looked at it for years. Now it's just there. But I realized, all these years I have lived by this. And look at me now. I'm in Buenos Aires presenting my book. How bloody crazy awesome that is beyond what you can ever fantasize. And the quote I have in my wallet says simply, follow your passions. They will take you far.
Wow. Follow your
Trust
passions. They
yourself.
will take
Trust
you
your
far.
passions.
So trust your passions and trust yourself, right? Trust yourself is so important. You got to do that as well. So thank you.
Yeah. No, before, so I'm not accountable for the choices in your life. Everything that was said in this podcast is not medical advice. We have to give that disclaimer, because when you're in a place where I was, where you're trying to break out from a cycle of toxicity and violence, and you feel that the love you have for that man is so authentic and deep, telling someone trust yourself is very dangerous.
Yeah.
So following your passion, like music, is not the end goal. It's that by following your passion for music, you will meet people, you will learn, you will feel, experience, grow. That's why follow your passions.
Wow. Thank you so much, Federica. It's been such a pleasure to have you once again on our show. So to the listeners, we will share all the links on how you can get hold of Federica in the bottom of the chat, in the description, and also links to the book as well. So thank you for listening to our show. Go onto our YouTube channel, please like and also share comments as well, so that Federica can see your comments and respond to it accordingly. We would love to hear your input as well. And there's a subscribe button. Hit on the subscribe button so that whenever we launch a new episode, it's always there into your inbox for you as well. So thank you once again. Be sure to follow us on our social media as well. Our handle is Straight Talk with Nolan. And take care and best wishes for now. Cheers, everyone. Bye.